Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome back to This Hijabi Life. I'm your host, Hakima, and of course, on this show, we talk to Muslim women about their journey in being visibly Muslim in the modern world through faith and fashion, family, and entrepreneurship. And today we have a phenomenal woman on our show, as we always do, but everyone is phenomenal in their own right. This guest today has shown so much range in what she's able to do. She is a content creator, she is a mother, she's a homeschooling mom, which always inspires me. And without further ado, I'm just going to bring her in. Sana Saleh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Let me read your bio. So, Sana Saleh is a seasoned content creator, entrepreneur, and homeschooling mom of over 4 years of experience building an online community of 3 million followers. 3 million followers in 4 years. Okay. Across TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. She owns Laala Hijabs, a hijab and modest fashion brand known for its innovative designs and high quality, relatable content. A proud Muslim and mother of three, she passionately shares her journey of parenting, homeschooling, and entrepreneurship while documenting her family's recent move from Canada to Malaysia. She is an advocate for creating change as she is a global family ambassador for Human Concern International. Her work combines creativity, authenticity, and deep commitment to her faith and family values. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited to talk to you today because everything I just read about you, Sana, it really resonates with me. You know,
Thank
being an entrepreneur, being a Muslim woman, visibly Muslim, I think is the distinction here. And I think that that's really, really powerful. So, given that journey, I want to talk about how you came to wearing hijab. We always talk about what's your hijab story.
Mhm.
You don't know this, but I had a class called Hijab Styling 101, and I presented your story of all the stories on YouTube. um,
No way.
yes, as one of the stories that I wanted my students to read and listen to because there's particularly relatable and impactful moments in your hijab story. So tell us how you came to wear hijab.
Amazing. So I actually grew up in a very small, I like to call it a hick town. I mean, realistically, in Canada, it's a really, really, really small community, not a tremendous amount of Muslims. And the Muslims that were in my community never wore a hijab. So I didn't have any role models growing up, no one in my family, no one in my community. So it wasn't really a thought process, to be honest. I wasn't inspired to wear hijab. I didn't want to wear hijab. Um, I just felt really out of place. I was embarrassed about my religion. And as I grew up and I went to college and university, I started learning more about Islam, surprisingly, from things just like this. I think it was Peace TV that I first started watching, started to become inspired to learn more about Islam, read the Quran. And I joined an interfaith group. And in that interfaith group, there were Christians, Buddhists, Jewish people, and I was the Muslim. I was the one representing Islam. And every time I would go to this group, I felt like a fraud. Um, just because no one could tell that I was Muslim. Like you couldn't visibly tell me or tell the difference between me and the Christian that I was sitting next to. So I started wearing hijab in this group just to kind of see how it would feel. And to be honest, it felt so perfect and real and felt like it's just what I needed. And over time, I started kind of practicing wearing it out of the house, going grocery shopping. And the day that I finished university, that's the day I chose to wear hijab, and I haven't taken it off ever since. So yeah, it was a bit of a process, but to be honest, it was an identity thing for me. Like it took a lot of time for me to realize that this is the way I'm going to be identified as a Muslim woman. And once I realized that, then it felt perfect. So it was a process.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people it's a process, right? And what I think is really great about your story is that there's no like really big huge like, oh, this disastrous thing happened and so I
Mm,
put it on, or I did it in spite of someone, or like some kind of, it's very relatable.
mhm, mhm.
Very, like, there's a lot of people that grow up not really connected to their deen, and so it's not necessarily something that they're considering in their youth. And then what I think is really great about your story is that the hijab journey for you meant that you wanted to stand out.
That's right.
And I
Yeah.
think standing out is what we're oftentimes afraid of, right?
Yep.
Um, and so, like, you want to blend in. Sometimes you want to blend in because that's
Yeah.
comfortable.
That was
Um,
me my whole life. That was me my whole life. I just wanted to blend in.
yeah, yeah. And
Mhm.
so when you stand out, you create discomfort, and I think with discomfort comes change, and that
Yeah.
change, brought you closer to the dean in that way.
Yeah.
Um, so, but the other side of standing out
Mhm.
is, for on one side there's pride, there's identity. Like, I'm a Muslim woman. Now you know the difference between me and the Christian
Mhm.
standing next to me. So there's pride in that, and I love that for you. But then
Mhm.
also there's like, you could get targeted for wearing your hijab now.
Yeah.
Now like, someone might say, "Oh, we didn't know you were a terrorist,"
Mhm. Mhm.
because now you're wearing a hijab.
Mhm.
So, what would you say to people who are grappling between, okay, I'm proud to be Muslim, I want to, like, identify, but then, like, I might be targeted. What the other side, the negative side of that?
Mhm. Mhm. So I think what we have to just remind ourselves is the verses in the Quran where Allah tells us to cover up so we can be recognized and left alone. And it took a lot of time for me to like ponder over this verse because in one way it makes sense because we're like, okay, yeah, you'll be identified as a Muslim woman and be left alone. But then when you're living in the West, that doesn't really apply because, yeah, you have a target on your head. Like, quite literally, you have a target on your head, and people know that you're visibly Muslim. Therefore, you're a target. But when you ponder this verse and you really think deeply about it, we have to have full faith in Allah's plan that He's told us to put the hijab on, and He will be the one that's going to be protecting us in the end. So I think it all just rewinds back to the intention and the intention that we wear hijab and the full intention and just wanting to always remember that the verses Allah has given us and the guidance Allah has given us is for a reason. And despite the external factors like the racism, the Islamophobia, the oh you're a terrorist that's all around us in the West, we have
Mhm.
to just hold on to the fact that Allah has given us this command and that He's going to be the one ultimately to take care of us. So once I kind of got into that frame of mind that yes, I now am visibly Muslim. People, like I said, I grew up in a very white town, just throwing it out there, very white town.
Yeah.
Not a lot of Muslims. The only Muslim who was wearing hijab at that time, yeah, I was definitely a target. But reminding myself of that verse, Allah took so much care of me that now when I go back to my town, I kid you not, there are 100 women now wearing hijab. Like
Oh,
it is
mashallah. Wow.
mind-blowing. And so
Yeah.
to see that ripple effect happen over the last 10, 15 years is like it's just mind-blowing. And the thing is if we don't do it, Allah's going to replace us with people that will, right? And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's a beautiful thing to be honest. And we just have to have full faith that, Allah's plan is Allah's plan.
Exactly, exactly. I think it's really powerful that you mentioned tawakkul, and there's two things that come to mind when I think about, like, the deen and just simple, verses or hadith that help us through times like that. I think of in tansurullaha yansurukum. If you give the victory to Allah, if you believe, that this is the right thing to do, like, this will trump anything, anything that could happen detrimental to me, then He will give you the victory. If you prioritize Allah, Allah will give you the victory. And then I
Yeah.
also think about the fact that, Islam began as something strange. My dad would say this all the time. Islam began as something strange and it will end as something strange.
Yeah.
So tuba lil ghuraba. Like, this is tuba, they say, is like, victory, or even like a fruit in Jannah for those who are strange. And we are oftentimes the
Mhm.
strangest people in the room.
Yeah.
And the way that people see us might be very different than the way Allah sees us. And we just have to focus on the way that Allah sees us. So
Exactly.
I love that. So I'm currently wearing your brand. You're currently wearing your brand. And of course, on this show, we talk a lot about fashion,
Yeah.
modest fashion, hijab fashion, of course. So you have a brand called Laala Hijabs. So tell us how you came to open up your brand and start
Mm.
to sell hijabs and modest clothing.
Yeah, it's our story is a wild one actually. My now 9-year-old, she was 5 at the time, named the brand Laala Hijabs. We couldn't settle on a name, and we're like, what would you name the brand? And she just said Laala Hijabs. We're like, okay, let's go with that one. This sounds great. So our business actually started out of necessity. It was during COVID. It was in 2020. My husband lost his job. He was working in the aircraft industry, and it was lockdown. And in Canada, I don't know if you know, but we had lockdown for like 2-3 years. It was like insane. So we were indoors all the time. And that's actually when we had joined TikTok. We started doing content creation, and I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw everyone was doing tie-dye. Like people were tie-dyeing their socks, their hoodies, their shirts. Like everyone was bored, right? Nobody had anything to do. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to tie-dye a hijab. So I literally went in my closet, grabbed a white hijab. I went to the store, grabbed some dyes. I tie-dyed a hijab and I started wearing it on TikTok, and people started asking me like, where did you get that from? That's so unique. It's so different. And I remember my husband was working his last job in aviation before he was laid off. And we thought about it. We're like, you know what? If people like it, should we just sell hijabs? And so we put an order in, we found a manufacturer, and we put quite literally his last paycheck into the business. And we advertised it on TikTok. That's the only thing that we did, was just on our TikTok page. We talked about it. We showed the process. We showed what we were doing, literally started it in our garage. And within 24 hours of launching, we sold out completely. And we're like, oh, this is cool. Okay. So yeah, it's grown from there. We now have a clothing line. We have jersey hijabs. We had a kids line that we're now revamping. We've got modals. We've literally done everything. And at the core of it, all of it is just the desire to bring out unique prints, designs that you don't see anywhere else. And people love it. And it makes me so happy because I enjoy doing it. So now this is our full-time gig. And yeah, it was literally happened over TikTok. It was so random. Never would have thought.
That is so crazy. You know, there's been so many people who have found their success through the pandemic. Number one, the pandemic had us all indoors, just with ourselves and our minds and our families, I guess, just kind of thinking, how can we pivot? How can we move differently so that we're kind of creating for our own? And of course, around us, I mean, there's a pandemic, so it's disaster all around. But somehow there's been so many sparks of light that just grew and grew and grew. For him to go from aviation, which I'm sure was a seemingly stable job, right? And then going into the pandemic, which made instability everywhere. And then to come into tie-dyeing hijabs and then quitting your job, and like everybody's just
we literally
amazing.
Like zero experience when it came to running a business. Like the website, even to this day, like it's all me. I just DIY'd everything, still do the marketing, email campaigns, like we do everything ourselves. And a lot of people are shocked to hear that. We do have staff that do like fulfill the orders for us. So that we have a warehouse and everything now, but on the back end, we literally taught ourselves everything. But the cool thing about today's day and age is you can learn anything you want online. So that's how we did it. We just taught ourselves along the way, and here we are.
That's amazing. May Allah put so much barakah, and He already has, but amplify your barakah in Laala Hijabs and everything that you do. And we're going to get into more that you do besides fashion when we come back after the break. So we'll be back with Sana after the break. Welcome back to this Hijabi Live. Today we've been talking to Sana Saleh from the Saleh family. You might have seen them on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube Shorts or anywhere and everywhere. She is one of the most incredible, you have a very incredible way of answering da'wah questions through your TikTok, along with your husband. I think if anyone might have seen you just coming across on TikTok, it might have been one of your short videos where you answer common misconceptions about Islam in either like a humorous way. It's always a short video as well, very digestible, a humorous way, very like very relatable. And I think, you know, the nature of social media is that you're constantly just like scrolling through and you almost barely realize how much work that person has put into it and how much impact that thing that you just watched has on you. So, with the dawa aspect of your brand, did you ever envision that you answering so many, it's probably been thousands of questions you've answered by now, of misconceptions or just explaining simple concepts in Islam? Did you envision that the dawa aspect of your brand would have incorporated so seamlessly as you first started to tie-dye hijabs and now you're answering these questions and basically being somewhere where people learn a lot about Islam from your page? Did you envision that for Laala when you first opened?
So the cool part about our story is we joined TikTok just a few months before we started Laala Hijabs. So we started getting these questions seamlessly around the same time that we started our business. And they were very natural. Like at first, me and my husband, when we started doing videos on social, it was just about our mixed culture relationship and the fact that, you know, I'm Pakistani, he's Canadian. And people naturally started asking, what's that called on your head? Like, why are
Yeah.
you wearing it? Do you have to wear it all the time? So we like started organically just answering these questions. And then as the questions started coming in, we're like, wow, people like really don't know much about Islam.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
understand what halal and haram is. They don't
Mhm.
understand the food we eat, the things that we can do, can't do. So we just naturally started answering these questions, and it kind of went hand in hand with when we started Laala Hijabs. And honestly, to this day, people still obviously ask these questions, but I feel like everyone has at some point seen our videos. Like they're all
Yeah.
over the place. People are reposting them here, there. And we try to answer them in a comical way because we feel like people are able to digest the information a little bit better. If it was just a really boring, like, here's the answer, this is why we don't drink alcohol, like, who's going to watch that? Right.
Yeah.
So when it comes to anything funny, I have to give my husband all the credit because he's the funny one in the relationship. Like I cannot even be funny if I try. So he's the one who usually thinks of these things, but it's a really good dynamic because we both work so well together. We're complete opposites. And people really enjoy this type of content. And I feel like we've been able to really dispel a lot of misconceptions about Islam because of the short form content. We've literally had people DM us saying, like, I want to take my shahada. Can you do that with me? Like, can you do it online with an imam? Like, can you, like,
Wow.
it's wild. Like, we never in a million years knew or thought that our content would reach as far as it has. But something as simple as why do we wash ourselves when we go to the washroom? Like,
Yeah.
people don't know these things. And the
Yeah.
fact that they're able to learn it on TikTok is amazing. So, I mean, just the little tidbits of how we live our life,
Yeah.
it's been incredible.
No, it's really, really impactful. I mean, if you have people saying that they want to become Muslim over
Mhm.
this, I mean, imagine the amount of the misconceptions that have been cleared up. Just it's almost like an unveiling, or there's a lot of fogginess or mystery around. Oh, that Muslim woman, she's covered up. Like, oh, but she can be funny. Oh, she just made me laugh. Like, she has a personality. Wait a minute, she has talent. People honestly
Yeah.
believe that about especially us, and even more so sometimes I think the men, because who's
Mhm.
oppressing us? Our husbands, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
then the husbands, like, they're mean or they're this. And look, your husband, you said your husband is the funnier one of the two, and we're just regular people. It's
yeah.
crazy that people, it's mind-blowing to people how absolutely normal we
Mhm.
are, and our religion is not doing anything terrible to us. We
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
choose these things, and they actually can learn from us, and light bulb, they actually choose that for themselves. So they actually
Yeah.
get to the point where they also want to be a Muslim just
That's
from
exactly.
asking questions. Yeah.
It's to be honest, we always say like the whole point of our social media is to humanize Muslims to the world.
Mhm.
Because yeah, we're aliens to a lot of people, to be honest, and we're not. We're like literally exactly like every other person in the
Yeah.
West, but we just live a slightly different lifestyle. And I think when people had the vision for Muslims, it was very one-sided because of the media. And so we get to take back that narrative now and show them, bring them literally, quite literally, into our lives. And that's the whole purpose of what we do. And we do a lot of lifestyle content where, we share the homeschooling, we share the gentle parenting, we share, what we do for our business. And people are like, wow, Muslims are a lot cooler than I thought. So that's
Crazy concept. So let's get into a little bit more about the other things that you do. We've talked about, your amazing line of dresses, your hijabs, Laala Hijabs, and the content that you do. What I think is really great is when you see an influencer who's maybe teaching you things or showing you things about fashion, beauty. You also do beauty blogging on your YouTube. But then we can get into charity. A lot of influencers also partner with charitable organizations to make humanitarian impact around the world. And sometimes when you mention in some of your videos the impact that you've had in places like Syria, where you created a whole village. You can talk a little bit more about that. I mean, going from TikTok, answering questions, launching your brand, and then being able to do something so amazing to build, homes for people who are out of a home because of war. I feel like that's just the icing on the cake. That's the cherry on top. That's what pushes your good deeds from this life only to, something that is everlasting, that sadaqah jariyah. Talk a little bit more, or a lot more actually, about what you have done with HCI and maybe any other partner organizations that you've worked with.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are family global ambassadors for Human Concern International. We've been with them for years, basically since the inception of our social media journey. We have traveled to Turkey, Syria, Palestine, Lebanon, Jordan. We've been to a lot of places with Human Concern International, and we have quite literally used our two hands to distribute aid to families and raise funds for so many different projects. I honestly, I don't even know where to start. Let's start with the Village of Hope. So in Syria, there is a countless number of families that are still living in tents that we witnessed ourselves. We can't even imagine living in a tent to go camping for like 3 days in an entire year. Like, these families with little babies and children are going through winters, summers, all year long. They're living in these tents. So our goal with HCI was to take all hundreds of families from these tents and build them homes. And these homes were fully equipped. They had a kitchen, they had a bathroom, they had a bedroom, they had even like the whole community. They had a masjid, a school. They had medical centers that we built where they can get free healthcare. Like, it is mind blowing to think about all the things. Like, I have goosebumps actually, like, mentioning this, because we literally, like, we started this project with nothing. There was nothing there. It was just a barren land, and we were able to open the Village of Hope this year, and to see the impact of our followers' donations. Like, there's a lot of influencers that create content for creating content. And I mean, we create content with the intention and the niyyah that we want to make an impact in this world. So when Allah called us to HCI and to use our platforms, to quite literally use our platforms to raise funds for families around the world, we're like, yeah, this needs to happen. Like, Allah blessed us with this platform, and this is the best way that we can use it, that we know, to make a difference. And literally witnessing with our own two eyes and taking families from tents to homes and just seeing their faces. Like, makes me so emotional, because it's like, it's such a basic thing. Like, we wake up every day, we get out of our bed, we have our routine. These families don't have the same routine that we have. And the fact that some people's donations from around the world made this happen because of our platforms, because of social media, because of TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, it's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
We've built water wells around the world where there was no water. Families would have to walk so far to get clean water, and now they have a well right there in front of their house where hundreds of families can now drink clean water. In Palestine, we were in Jerusalem just 2 years ago, and we were in a community literally right outside of Jerusalem where you know about the occupation, and I don't have to go into detail about it, but
Yeah.
we went to this area and we planted olive trees, and we were watering these olive trees with water bottles. I'm not joking. They literally brought in water bottles, and we're like, "What is why? Like, is there no irrigation here?" And they're like, "No, Israel doesn't allow us to have water. Like, they're not allowed to have pipes. There's 10,000 families in this community with no access to running water." So we literally went to basically an empty field where they had started digging a hole to build a giant water facility, but they didn't have the funds to do it. So we called on our followers. We literally went on social media. I stood in the hole and I was like, this is supposed to be a water facility, but they don't have the funds. And it was, I think, $250,000 they needed to finish this project. And subhanAllah, within 6 months, the funds were raised, and that water facility exists now, and it's pumping water to 10,000 families. Like, the power of social media is just beyond words, and the impact that we can all have collectively as an ummah, it's phenomenal. And the fact that, like, I don't even want to like give props to any of our platforms. It's our followers. Like, it is our followers that made this happen, and Allah just gave us the little avenue that where we can connect our followers to the charity, and we can make magic happen. Like, it's been an amazing journey, and I truly can't wait to see what the future holds. But subhanallah, social media is powerful.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I just want to say, if I'm proud of you. You know, I don't know if that means anything to you, how much weight that holds, but I am so proud of you and what you have been able to move, you know, the impact you've had internationally. Because a lot of times, and what this leads to the next question, a lot of times people dismiss influencers, especially, and I'll just say this, Muslim women in fashion and beauty. They tend to dismiss us as if it's just a vain pursuit, right? It's just to say, "Oh, I'm so pretty," right? And that's the idea placed. That's the idea placed on us, right? It's not necessarily like you mentioned, Nia, right? Your intention. In Islam, your deeds are based on intention, um, and so you built this platform, and now you're able to have this impact. And a lot of people again dismiss influencers as just fake. Nothing that's online is real. All these people just want you to like click their links and like get them affiliate money or like whatever. But it's not always like that. There are genuine people online, and yes, you do have to make your money, but you also have to, and that's a genuine pursuit as well, making your money. But there's also the impact that you're having. Look at this humanitarian, you know, effort that you've had. What do you say to people who, you know, they're just very dismissive of becoming an influencer? Do you find that like your journey has made you more aware of genuine people, or do you think that it is more overwhelmingly fake, and you're one of the few genuine people on the internet today?
So I will say, in this world of influencing, I feel weird about the term influencer, but
Mm-hmm.
when you're an influencer, you're influencing, whether that's to buy something, to donate something, to, I don't know, create a craft project, whatever it may be. You're inspiring someone to do something. So I like to use the word content creator, but
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, there are definitely influencers that are in it for the wrong reasons. I've met a lot of them, but then there's also a lot of content creators that are so genuine and start social media because they really do want to make a change. And then there's the middle ground, which is both sides. Like, influencers also, I want to say, like, really do struggle in terms of that balance, because on one side, you know, want to create your business, you want to keep going, but then on the other side you feel weird about doing it because it's like, well, I'm promoting brands, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I feel weird, I feel fake. um and it's just this like catch 22, and you're constantly like juggling between the two. And I think at the end of the day, just like you said, it's all about nia. And I have met content creators that started content creation just for themselves, just as an outlet, and then, you know, people give them a platform, they go way up, and then they totally forget where they came from, and that's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
We have to remember that all of the risk and everything, including followers, likes, comments, that's all from Allah. Like, none of that happens spontaneously. That's set in place. That's a plan from Allah. And
Yeah.
as content creators and influencers, we have to humbly remind ourselves that this can be taken away at any moment.
Yes.
Any moment it can we've seen with our eyes people getting canceled. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
So we have to take that with good intention that, Allah gifted me this platform and I have to make sure that I do good with it. And if I don't do good with it, then Allah take it away from me. Like we have
Yeah.
always did that, like in everything that we do, that, may Allah bless everything, all the work that we do so that we can continue making an impact in this world. And if not, if our intentions aren't pure, take it away from us. But
Yeah.
we just have to remind ourselves that, yeah, it is a mix of both, and there's definitely imposter syndrome that happens, and we just have to remind ourselves that, Allah gave us this platform. It is a gift. It's an amana. Treat it properly, and the rest will come.
Yes, definitely. I totally agree with your answer. And some subhanallah, you mentioned Amana. Actually, my eldest daughter's name is Amana. And that is on purpose also, because I think that a lot of times we think that what we possess in the dunya is actually ours. Like we created this, we built this thing up, we did this, and we almost forget that every single thing, including our very lives themselves, our platforms, whatever we built, do you think you grinded and you did all this stuff and you built this 4 million, subscribers or, followers? But like you said, and I'm so glad that you reminded all of us that whatever you have today can be taken away tomorrow. And the amana means that what you have in terms of risk in your possession right now is really for Allah. And so you have to do well with it, because when it returns back to him by you losing it, or as our lives, Allah takes it back. He only gives us this life, and then he takes this ruh, the spirit from within us, our souls, back to him. So we're supposed to do well with what we have for the time being, because it was never ours to begin with. And I think that you mentioned humility as well. And I think that when you think about things as not really yours, but really an amana that you have to do well with, you can only be humble with those things.
Yeah.
You can't start to be arrogant with those things, because who are you at the end of the day? You're just a vessel.
Exactly that.
Thank you so much, Sana. I love this discussion, and we do have to take a little break, and we'll come back and talk more with Sana. Welcome back to this Hijabi Life. We'll continue our discussion with Sana from the Saleh family. You are currently talking to me from Malaysia, and this is a new, development with the Saleh family, moving from Canada to Malaysia. And you moving to Malaysia is kind of making my dreams come true in some kind of way, because I've always wanted to even visit, or much less live in either Indonesia or Malaysia. And so when you said, "Oh, we're thinking about going somewhere," and then you did the big reveal of like, "Oh, we're moving to Malaysia," and you're finally there, mashallah. I felt so happy for you, and I was like living vicariously through your journey. What brought you to moving to Malaysia?
Oh man, this is a wild story. So we actually came here on our honeymoon a decade ago. And when we came to visit, we were here for only 2.5 weeks. And this is before we even had kids, obviously, honeymoon. We just fell in love with this place. Like, this place is phenomenal. I feel like it's such a best kept secret in the Muslim world. The people are amazing. The food is amazing. I'm literally looking at coconut trees outside in my backyard. The weather is amazing. The environment, the Islamic environment, is incredible. And we said to ourselves a decade ago, we're like, we need to move here. Like, somehow, I don't know how, but let's move here. A year later, we ended up having our first daughter. And then here we are 3 kids later. And October 7th happened last year. And it continued and continued and continued. And here we were in January, just like 4 months afterwards. And our politicians in Canada are very Zionist, and we sat down and we're like, where are our priorities? Is this where we want to raise our kids? And we thought to ourselves, okay, how much money is in the bank? And can we sacrifice leaving this country for a few months to live in Malaysia to see if it's something that we want to do? So we left. We literally got up and left in February, and we stayed here until May. We also tried the UAE, didn't work out, subhanallah. And we were here for a few months. We spent Ramadan here. We had Eid here. We also went to Indonesia, went to Turkey in that same time. We did a lot of traveling last year, just earlier. Oh my God, I say last year. It's actually 2023. It was this year, earlier this year. And May came around and we're like, okay, I think this is a place where we can see ourselves raising our children. And we went back home and within a few months packed up our lives, literally filled up a container, which still hasn't arrived here yet. At the end of August, it left on a boat and it's making its slow trek across the world and is coming here. So we're still living out of our suitcases, subhanAllah. And we did it. We just came. And the crazy thing about this whole hijrah thing for a better life for our kids is every time we go to the mall here, we run into a family from America or Canada or the UK that moved here because of us. And I know that's like insane to think about. We were just at the mall last night.
Yeah.
And there was a family from Dallas, Texas, and they recognized us and they came up to us and they're like, we moved here because of you. We just got here 3 months ago.
Yeah.
We never visited Malaysia, not even once, but we packed up our things and came here with our 2 kids because of the videos you guys created online about Malaysia and how much you love it. There's another family that we met also from Texas. Like, it's mind blowing to me how many people saw our content about Malaysia and ended up just picking up and just coming here. And we did it with the intention of making hijrah and also allowing ourselves to live in a country where we can raise our kids and not have to worry about them being targeted, just allowing them to just be more open and free with their religion. And we just feel like it's more easy. There's more masjids here, the environment, there's way more Muslims here. It's still technically a country and a government where all religions are celebrated. So it's not just Eid is off, but you also have Christmas off. You have Diwali off. You have all the holidays off. Everyone is celebrated here. And yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, I never thought I would be here 10 years ago. We made that intention and Allah made it happen just from a simple dua 10 years ago. SubhanAllah, here we are. And honestly, you need to come here. You will love it here.
I totally would. I know I would. So, okay, there's a lot to unpack here. Number one, I love that you mentioned that you thought about moving there from your honeymoon. And what I think is really beautiful is that you made maybe a dua, maybe an intention, something was set 10 years ago. And then look how long it took for Allah to bring that forward to you. So like patience with dua, love that. And also October 7th was really like the launch, point where you're like, okay, remember what we said we're going to do? Let's really do that now. And sometimes, the dua that you made years ago is not, it might just not like unfold like a picnic, for you. Sometimes it's sparked by some kind of tragedy that you're not really understanding how or why Allah made this happen at this time, but it's Allah's plan and it's always kind of unfolding in ways that is very mysterious and you just kind of go with it, right? I love that. Okay, so, and then also you mentioned the word hijrah. And hijrah is a big thing for us as Muslims. I mean, we literally measure time by the hijrah, from Mecca to Medina. It's like after hijrah or before hijrah, like where are we at? So it's very, very important for us as Muslims making that move so that we can free ourselves, liberate ourselves to practice our religion, more freely. And that's what happened with the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he was being persecuted in Mecca and moved to Medina. And before that, there was another hijrah where some of the companions went to Africa, to Ethiopia, for a relief from what they were dealing with. And here's your family moving from Canada to Malaysia for that same sense of relief, to be yourselves and to not be governed by a Zionist government anymore. And I think that I mean, that's following in the footsteps of the prophet. You know, this is the sunnah, to get up and move yourself to have a better community, for not only yourself but your children, your three beautiful children. Um, so do you feel like you're setting a precedent not only for, you know, your family, but, you know, the generations that are coming? Do you expect that maybe your children will stay in Malaysia and then they will have children there, and, you know, this will be where you really set up new roots?
Mhm. Yeah, so it's an amazing story actually. So my husband's family, his family are originally from Europe, so basically British, Ireland, that kind of area, and they left and moved to Canada about 200-ish years ago, even before Canada was like a country. My family, on the other hand, my dad was the first one that left Pakistan, still to this day in his family, that left Pakistan to go to Canada and set roots there. And all of us, me and my siblings, were all born there. And he came to Canada with the intention of giving us a better life. And now I think about his story and how he left everything he ever knew alone, went to Canada, got a job, basically set roots in a brand new country that he had zero connections there. Didn't have family there. He didn't have friends there. And subhanallah, after all these years, took 33 years for me to now get up and uproot my family and now come to Malaysia. And inshallah, my intention is that we're going to be here long term as well. And our kids will set roots here and maybe their kids will be born here, et cetera, et cetera. But this world is a masjid. Like everywhere is a masjid. I have to remind myself that we're not just we don't have to just stay where our parents brought us, because my dad didn't stay where he was brought either. And so it's kind of like in my blood, the whole making hijrah for your family thing, right? And so for us, when we made intention on making hijrah, we really thought about our future generations. And we're like, if Canada is going downhill now, where is it going to be 5 years from now? And is it going to be easy for our kids to be teenagers here versus how it was in the 90s when I grew up? And when we thought about that, it scared us. It really did scare us. And we're like, no, this is not the place that we want our kids to be. We want them to be able to practice their religion way more freely. And we want them to be in an environment that inspires them to be better Muslims. So here we are. Here we are in Malaysia, and we're now setting roots in a place that we have no family here. We're now building relationships here. We're learning to have a new community here. And now I'm realizing all the struggles that my dad went through to have that for us. And I thank him every day for that. And the sacrifices that our parents made for us to set roots in a country that allowed us to be here. And there's a lot of people that will comment and leave comments to us like, oh, you're so ungrateful, like Canada gave you all these things. Absolutely it did. 100%. There's no doubt about it. Like I am so grateful for where we came from and for the upbringing that I had, but I feel like this is the next step in our story. And now all we're doing is writing a new chapter. That's all we're doing. We're not changing the book here. We're not switching out books. We're just writing a new chapter in the lives of our kids. And inshallah, we'll see where it goes from here.
Mashallah. I mean, it's crazy how people can just, you know, come up with some conclusion about you. Just it's incredibly just dismissive of everything you just now mentioned. The generational, you know, your father, then you, and what you're thinking about in the future, and then for someone to just say you're ungrateful. I mean,
Yeah.
forget about those people. I think you're brave. I mean, it's so tremendously brave. When October 7th happened in my own family, and I'm sure many Muslims who live in the West, we have real thoughts about, okay, how can we actually live in this country and be so against what it does, but then every day, you know, be sitting in the privilege of being in this country.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very scary to move away from everything that you have and everything that you are familiar with to make that sacrifice. But that's why the sacrifice is so blessed, I think, in the sight of Allah, because, you know, like we said at the beginning, that discomfort makes change, right? So when you get uncomfortable and you actually choose the discomfort, maybe Allah will bring you an even greater, more amplified, you know, barakah in your life. And I pray that for you, Sana. I'm really excited that you're in Malaysia.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And honestly, we had no idea how and where and why and how we would even make this happen when we came earlier this year. But I kid you not, when we made the Nia and we came here to just live here temporarily for a few months, Allah literally plucked people from all around the world, put them in front of us, and made this journey easy. Like I'm not even joking. We met so many amazing people along the line that made this process so much easier. And none of it would have happened if we didn't just take that step. Like none of it would have happened. And it's truly like I'm witnessing in front of my eyes the answers to my du'as. Like it's just amazing. It's an amazing process. It is a sacrifice, 100%. It's not easy, very emotional, but it is rewarding.
Mashallah, mashallah. Okay, we are going to come back after one more break here, and we're going to talk and wrap up with Sana from the Saleh family. Welcome back to This Hijabi Life. Today we've been having such a great conversation with Sana Saleh, who is a YouTuber, a TikToker, and the owner of Laala Hijabs. We're going to talk a little bit about, a subject that's maybe a bit more somber. You recently had a miscarriage, and that resulted in a very touching charity project that I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the charity project that resulted from that tragedy. So tell us a little bit more about how we can, about the project as well as how we can support it.
So in 2021, I suffered a miscarriage quite late in my pregnancy. It was really traumatizing. And it was for my third child, who we named Iman. And after this happened, we really felt like Allah gave us this child temporarily within my womb for a very short amount of time. And we wanted to understand why, because we had a lot of questions. Obviously, going through something so traumatic, you always have the question why. And we asked Allah, like, why? Why did this happen? Why did this happen to us? Why did we lose this child? We tried to make sense of it. And a friend of ours who works with HCI, we were talking to him about it, and all of us brainstormed together about what we could do to make Iman's legacy live on for literally ever. And that's when we came up with the legacy project called Wells for Iman. And we started this campaign quite literally a few weeks after I had my miscarriage. And we, to this day, have built dozens, like probably over 100 wells around the world. And many of them have Iman's name on the plaques. And we're now providing clean drinking water in Afghanistan, in Africa, Pakistan, Bangladesh, like so many different places because of the loss that we had with Iman. And I think to myself, like, is this why this happened? So that we could kickstart a campaign where our followers would come together and create something that's literally sadaqah jariyah forever, like clean drinking water. These people, these families are now able to drink clean drinking water, make wudu with clean water every time they pray. Like, it's just like mind blowing to think about the sadaqah that goes into building a water well. And yeah, it makes me emotional thinking about it, because I truly firmly believe this is why Iman entered for a very short amount of time into our world, so that we could make this big change. And not only that, but we sparked other families who also had losses to do the same thing. So there's a lot of families that reached out to us that built wells in the name of their mother, their grandfather, their lost child, their aunt, uncle. Like, we had people coming left, front, and center from all around the world that wanted to also build wells. And a lot of people don't even know that's an option, that you can provide clean drinking water to communities and villages all across the world. And subhanallah, I think about it all the time, about how every single day, even probably right this second, someone's pumping water from those wells because of Iman. And subhanallah, ever since then, we got pregnant again and had our little miracle baby, Yusuf, who is now almost 2 years old and
mashallah.
wouldn't have entered into this world had it not been for our loss. So sometimes tragic things happen, so amazing things come after that. And we have to trust in Allah's plan that sometimes we don't quite understand why something happens because Allah has a better plan for you afterwards. And Allah's plan was to bring Iman into this world for a really short amount of time, for a lifetime of people making dua for clean drinking water. And then in turn, Allah gave us Yusuf. And inshallah, one day we'll meet Iman in Jannah. And
Yes,
may,
ameen,
may
ameen.
every parent meet their lost child, unborn child, stillborn child, miscarried child in Jannah in the best of form. So
Ameen,
that's our
ameen.
story.
Sana, I'm so happy that we were able to talk about that, because maybe just a little bit more people will now know about the project, and you'll get even more barakah on your scales of good and in on Yom Al Qiyamah. I mean, as a mother, I know that this question is not easy to answer, and you're so full of grace, mashallah. I mean, as we didn't even get a chance to talk too much about the fact that you're a homeschooling mother and how homeschooling through all of these things has impacted, the children and the family, and why you chose to homeschool while doing all of these things. I mean, I think I can probably understand why. You're a phenomenal mother, mashallah, a phenomenal mother, a phenomenal mother to the three that you have and the one that you still have that's waiting for you in Jannah.
Mhm.
And I pray that you continue to see all of the benefits of that tragedy that happened to you, because even if the baby was there for three months, or it was there for 9 months, or stillborn, like, you are extremely connected to the fetus inside you. As soon as you see those two lines, or however you found out, you become so connected. And I haven't suffered the same thing just yet. And I pray that everyone watching and myself, and is protected from that. But it is the story of so many women.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you were able to turn that into something so extremely beautiful.
Mhm.
I can't talk about it anymore because it's gonna be snot and everything.
Makes me so emotional too. Subhanallah. It just I kept my pregnancy offline for both Iman and Yusuf. And after I had my loss with Iman, I thought to myself, will sharing my story and our tragedy, will it help somebody? And subhanallah, it did. It really did. Especially in our community, no one ever talks about miscarriages. No one talks about pregnancy loss. And the amount of mothers that reached out to me thanking me for sharing my story so that they didn't feel like they were alone anymore is nothing compares. Even to this day, people are still finding that video on YouTube and still messaging me saying thank you, and just having an outlet where they can understand that they're not alone. And ultimately we have to trust in Allah's plan that we might not understand why these things happen, but Allah has a better plan for us, and that's the whole point of being a Muslim, is
Yeah,
trusting in
yeah, yeah. Thank you
him.
so much, Sana, for talking with us about everything having to do, with your business and your humanitarian efforts and your family and your move. I really, really appreciate having this conversation with you. I feel like now are we besties? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Talking with you is like talking to my long lost sister. Alhamdulillah. It's been an amazing conversation. I
I
so
really,
appreciate
really appreciate it. So just in case, someone is looking to support your work, tell us where we can find your work. And also, is there anything coming up that, you need to tease or leak here, in terms of like your future projects? Like, what's next for your brand?
Mhm. We have an amazing kids line that's in the pipeline right now.
Nice.
We also have a new hijab that we created for Palestine. We have a lot of different projects that we do for Laala Hijabs where we can help raise funds. We donate 100% of the profits from whatever we earn from these specific hijabs, and we have an incredible free Palestine hijab that we're launching soon. We're actually arranging to have the photo shoot done in Palestine, so I'll let you guys know about that. But stay tuned for it. because it's a hijab that is similar to the one I'm wearing, but in Palestine colors. It's the red, black, white, and green.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal of this project is to raise as much money as we can for Gaza aid, for food aid, for medical aid, for families that are in Gaza right now, but also to help create more awareness. When women wear these hijabs out and about, people are going to ask, where's that from? What does that represent? Represents Free Palestine. So that one's coming soon. So stay tuned for that. We're very excited, inshallah. Being in Malaysia is such a unique perspective on having a modest fashion brand. To be honest, it's such a hub, and I'm so inspired being here, seeing all the women and what they wear and what they do. And I can't wait to bring these designs to the West. So stay tuned for that.
Inshallah, I will definitely be staying tuned. I really, really appreciate having you. Thank you so much for being here. Check out, lalahijabs.com. Follow them on YouTube. Follow them on TikTok. Follow them on Instagram. Did I get all of them? All at the Saleh family, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically every platform. Just look up Saleh Family. You'll find us.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Sana, for being here. And as I wrap up the show, I always like to give my last 2 cents, as a final word. And I bring women on this show to talk about their journeys with their entrepreneurship and their business. And we get into hijab stories and we get into a lot of things. And I hope that one of the things that we leave these episodes with is the fact that there are truly inspirational women online that can be role models for ourselves, our girls, and I think that the reason why I talked with Sana about that question of influencer culture being fake or everything online is not real, I really hope to dispel that stereotype or that impression that if you see a person who has amassed a great number of people following them online, there must be something fake, something disingenuous about that person. Someone like Sana Saleh and the things that she's done with her platform and the way that she, even answered the questions here, there's nothing, you know, there's nothing fake about that. This is someone who's extremely genuine, who's doing, impactful work globally. And this is the type of person that we should be surrounding ourselves with online. What you focus on grows for you. So when you focus on people who are genuine, who are impactful, who are funny, who have a personality, who are relatable to you, who you can learn from, then that's your online community. So just weeding out the things that you follow that are negative to you and finding the gems on the internet that you can follow and actually learn something new and actually be inspired to, continue your entrepreneurship journey or start it or start wearing hijab. I love talking about her hijab journey. Or start anything, that is positive from these women's influence. So that's my final word. And I hope that, you can look back at the episodes from Sana all the way back to the first episode and see woman after woman after woman who is worthy of your support, because they're influencing towards good through whatever journey that they're on. So thank you so much for watching this episode. Tune in next time where we'll be talking to another great woman about her journey with hijab, being visibly Muslim, an entrepreneur, a girl in fashion, whatever it is. We'll be right here talking to them about their journey. So until then, stay covered and blessed beautifully.